Hello, everyone, and welcome. We have a question for you. Please be with me. Who here uses ArgoCD? Great, great. And another question, who here uses ArgoCD App of Apps? Come on, don't be shy, don't be shy.
And with the raise of a hand, who uses it at scale?
Who uses at scale?
So we all love talking about scale, but what is scale when it comes to ArgoCD? And how can you measure it?
Do you know what is scary? Numbers. Let's start counting applications. How many ArgoCD applications is a lot? Some startups might think that 20 ArgoCD applications is a lot, and some others might think that 200 applications is a lot. At Kaltura, we started to say the word scale out loud when we reached the 2,000 production applications. So, how many applications do you think is a lot?
Oh,
nice.
That's definitely a lot. So when we reach a large application count, we started to look for a solution in order to manage all those applications. So like a lot of organizations at the time, we started to adopt the app of app pattern. So we started with a small app of app, and over time it grew and became a monster. And yep, I'm talking about a monolith. So, but before we dive into the numbers, let's introduce ourselves.
We adopted Kubernetes, we adopted ArgoCD, and we adopted GitOps, and we adopted the app of apps pattern. But over time, we started to see that this app of apps pattern just doesn't cut it anymore. And the thing is that we started getting a lot of PRs from our developers.
Why PRs? From who?
PRs from the developers asking for changes in this app of apps. And we got to realize that, okay, something is up. It is time for a change. But before we dive into the numbers, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Ido Ziv, DevOps team leader.
And my name is Ido Ziv, senior DevOps. And no, we're not brothers.
And no, we are not married either.
But both of us are long-time ArgoCD administrators and an heavy user when it comes to ArgoCD. We have a fun story to tell you today, but before we get into it, what is an heavy user when it comes to ArgoCD? Well, in our case in Kaltura, the AI-infused video company, that means that we have a lot of storage, a lot of network usage, and over 2,000 applications across dozens of cloud regions.
So, Adi, what is an app of apps anyway?
So, an app of app is ArgoCD pattern or GitOps pattern that where one ArgoCD application manage other ArgoCD applications.
As you know, ArgoCD applications are basically Kubernetes objects. And what ArgoCD likes the most? To manage Kubernetes objects. So, I have a question. Why do we need an application for applications? Can we just install the applications?
We can, don't we?
Yes, of course we can install the applications, Helm install, kubectl apply. It all works great. But what happens when you need to deploy multiple applications from multiple repositories across multiple environments, multiple stages? Dev, QA, stage, environment, production. Sorry, I got a headache. How do you keep everything aligned? How do you manage everything? And we like to use the don't repeat yourself, the dry pattern, that allows us to define once and use multiple times. But as I said, we had an issue. Our platform team started struggling with all the PRs and pull requests from the developers asking for changes. And we just didn't scale it. And the team didn't scale enough.
So this is where we start talking about bottlenecks?
Yes, this is.
OK, great. So listen up. The app of app pattern has been great to us. It enables us to deploy tons of applications over the years. But now, at the age of AI, where spinning up new microservices has become easier than ever, we realize that we can't keep holding the gates anymore and let the developer out to dry.
OK, so let us review the downside of app of apps. So first of all, ArgoCD app of apps creates dependencies, whether it's dependencies between the platform team and the developer teams, or it's coupling unrelated applications. So here is a common use case in Kaltura. Hello. Yes. OK, the front-end applications didn't sync yet. Adi, front-end applications didn't sync.
It's the backend team again?
Yes. There is dependency between teams, and that's a bummer. And the second thing is the ArgoCD app of apps. It's one manifest. So it's a single point of failure. Whenever someone introduces bad code or a bug to it, like a syntax error, everyone suffers, and that's a bummer. And another thing, it really creates a pain for the platform engineering team. We have a lot of operational overhead because we need to keep the standards, we need to hold the gates, and we need to make sure that nobody breaks the app of apps, as you remember. And lastly, the final thing is, this is a static manifest. You can't apply logic, you can't apply advanced templating. This is the app of apps. So, as you know, we are using the app of apps, and we're using it for how long?
For years, so. So we used the ArgoCD heavily all throughout the years, and it worked great. But the app of app pattern that once fitted us perfectly, we realized that it just doesn't cut it anymore. So we have to go find a new solution, a better solution, and let us review the turning point.
So, the turning point for us was deploying to 3 more cloud regions. We started hearing the word app of apps in a bad context on daily stand-ups, Scrum meetings, weekly plannings. Or even in the hallway, the developer team started saying, hey, what's this up with ArgoCD? Why the sync operations are so slow? Why I can't do basic operations? And we realized, maybe we reached the limit? Maybe ArgoCD is slowing us down?
So what can we do about it?
I have an idea. We will create the app of apps of apps.
Okay, that's one idea, but I think I have a better one.
Show us.
Introducing ArgoCD ApplicationSets. ApplicationSets is a dedicated CRD and controller that's been designed and created exactly for that use case. And yep, it solves all the problems we just mentioned. So ApplicationSets is a scalable controller that enables application decoupling and let us implement complex logic, and is a very scalable way to do all those things.
Let's compare them, Adi.
So let's do it. So let's go over the categories one by one. And the first one is ownership. And that's a no-brainer. Application sets, the ownership is in the developer hands. And when it comes to scaling, well, app can scale, but application set can scale faster and with less effort from the platform team. And what about auto-discovery? Well, in terms of auto-discovery, the app of app doesn't really support it natively. And yes, you can do some clever entries in order to overcome it, but when it compares to application sets, it has just native support of it. And at the end of the day, it's all about ownership and self-service these days.
It seems to me like that we like this application set idea, but we also like the app of apps.
So as we like to say, app of app worked, so application sets could run.
Great, who said it?
We did, right here, right now.
Boom. Thank you, Adi. Let's start break through this application set idea. So, as you heard, application set is a controller introduced by ArgoCD to help us deploy applications. Great, right? It uses generators, technically. Generators like these that actually tells ArgoCD where do I want that application deployed. I can use the basic ones, and I can even combine ones using the metrics generator. And also, there is like a really cool feature called the pull request generator that allows creating ephemeral preview environments for the developers. And Adi will show you some real-life examples.
So let's review the use case and the patterns that we use daily at Kaltura. And the first one is the auto-discovery, where we utilize the Git generator and the SCM generator. The SCM generator scans through our Git provider, it could be GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, whatever you like, and finds repositories that mention a certain rule, in that case, a certain prefix. And in those repositories, we look for all the repos that has a certain folders or values YAML files. Therefore, that's why we can find out to which environment, to which clusters those applications will be deployed to. That way, and if a developer wants to deploy his application to a new environment, all he has to do is to add the relevant directories or files. Another cool example is where a developer wants to test his code, but he has dependencies on some Kubernetes resources that has to be provisioned. So that's why we have the pull request generator. The pull request generator lets us create a temporal environment and ephemeral environment with the latest code from that pull request. That's why the developer can test his code with the latest code, test his code with the latest Kubernetes resources, and when the pull request is merged or closed, the environment is destroyed with it. And the last example is the most classic SaaS use case, where we have a certain list of applications, app 1, 2, and 3, that needs to be deployed to certain clusters in certain regions. And yep, we can do a static list to map those applications, but in the dynamic world we live in, we need to find a better solution. That's why we have the cluster generator. The cluster generator utilizes the labels on the clusters in order to figure out to which clusters those applications should be deployed. That's why if now we provision a new cluster, those applications will be auto-deployed to it, and that's awesome. So now that we're starting to realize the power of the application sets, Ido will show us how to migrate to it from app of app.
Thank you, Adi. As you all know, managers hate migrations. I know mine does. So I will walk you through it, how to migrate from the legacy app of apps to the new application set in the safest and fastest way possible. So the first thing you need to do is deploy your application using the application set. Easy. And now, what happens? It's called the AppSet magic. Application set will detect that this application already exists in your ArgoCD. Okay, so what? A conflict? No. Application set will take over and start saying, okay, this application, mine now. I manage it. Okay, and now what all you have to do is start gradually removing the applications from the legacy app of apps to the AppSet. And now you can remove the app of apps for all. So we did it. We actually did it, and the managers liked it. But we reached to a certain point where we had many, many application sets. We had the backend application set, frontend, PS, batch, This is the AppSet mania. And from a standpoint that we have over 30 application sets in production, we got to a point where we have too many application sets, and we started losing our hands and feet in the process. So we had to find a solution for that, managing application sets. So what are we doing?
Introducing app of app sets, like app of app, but for application sets. That way, we're still using the management abilities with app of app, but we're using their capabilities of application sets, because sometimes you still need the hierarchy even when it comes to application sets. So let's see it in action. So here is what a real-life scenario of applications app of app sets repo could look like. So every team will still have their own application sets, so they still be able to deploy new environments, new application, but the catch is now the platform team can easily manage all those application sets. So now we see the repo structure of the apps of AppSets. Let's see the app of AppSets manifest. So I know the idea of app of AppSets could sound really intimidating, really complex, but in reality, it's as simple as this application manifest. It's as simple as could be.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, exactly. Because in the end of the day, the app of AppSets is the heart of your ArgoCD setup. So you need to keep it aligned, keep the structure, code owners, code review, all the things that we do with code has to be done with the app of AppSets. Because at the end of the day, it's app on AppSets. When we add a new resource, it'll be automatically deployed by the app of AppSets magic. So now that we know what app of AppSets is, let's see some clever tips and tricks.
Thank you. So I will walk you through some of the tips and tricks we learned the hard way so you avoid the pitfalls. So first of all, from the far left, the sync policy. Sync policy is a mechanism in ArgoCD that tells Argo how do I want to sync my applications, which operations I'm allowing it to do, when and where. So the most famous one that we know is the auto-sync. And the auto-sync has a feature called self-healing, meaning that you can run a chaos monkey in your cluster that will delete everything, and ArgoCD will have your back and restore the stuff. In our case, the chaos monkey is called our CTO, and he deletes the stuff. Also, ArgoCD diff workflow, this is something that we like to call, and we're using the ArgoCD CLI to leverage the diff command and stuff like that to preview ArgoCD actions before it actually does them. Meaning before we merge the changes, we can preview the actions and decide whether we want it or not. And now, let's talk about authentication. Using a sophisticated security authentication mechanism such as OAuth allows you to ditch the legacy username password and using a more advanced system. And that has two benefits. The first, you don't need to hold static credentials, username, password, stuff like that. So you don't get a call every 3 months from the security team, hey, rotate the password. That's done. And the second thing is the rate limit. Adi showed us the SEM provider, and it generates a lot and lots and lots of calls to GitHub, so you don't want to get rate limits. The OAuth will help you with that. To the far left, ArgoCD applications are Kubernetes objects. So treat them like code. Use automated PR validations and PR checks to make sure that the code actually does what you want to do. It's same code as everything else. And last but not least, labels. Labels, labels, labels. As long as you label everything, you can tell ArgoCD which you want your application deploy and help him help you. Now, I want you to see the outcomes of the migration process that we did. Wow. So first of all, we reduced the operational overhead, and there is no more pull request queue that my team needs to purge. Now the platform team focuses on innovation and roadmap and stuff like that. And we're doing that by empowering 200 developers every single day, delivering more and more features to the company. How many features? 20 just last week were introduced to the dev environment. That's fast. And also, from looking on the metrics of the ArgoCD controller, application controller, just looking at resources such as CPU, memory, and such, we see a decrease in the resource consumption, and the application reconcile latency has dropped significantly. So now it's almost near real time. And we told you a lot of things, but what are the takeaways? So first of all, GitOps uses patterns, scale patterns, not YAMLs. YAMLs are hard to read and even harder to write, but patterns are easy. Second thing is empower developers with ownership. It's all about self-service. As long as you give them ownership, they will be accountable for their applications. Now, I want to talk about the generators. Each generator on its own is great, and together, they're unstoppable. Go, go, Power Rangers. And now, about the migrations, we said. Treat migrations as organizational change rather than refactor. If it works, don't touch it, right? So don't refactor. Introduce a new way of thinking, a new way of thought, how we introduce more and more velocity to the company. And this is the thing that actually matters. Empower developers and help them create more velocity and more value to the company. Because basically, this is what we're all about, bringing value to our companies. Ask yourself, if you want to introduce a new feature, a new DevX feature, will it move the needle? Will it actually help my developers introduce new code? If the answer is yes, so yeah, do it. But if no, ditch it. And that's it. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you. If you have any question, now is the time. And hit us up on LinkedIn.
I have a question. Can we do a selfie with you? Tavi.
Do it.
Yes, and you still can ask questions. It's OK. It will just take a second.
And do it at the same time.
Smile. Thank you. So, questions?
Hit us up.
Even better.
Okay.
So we will be outside. If you have questions, that's OK. We didn't want to answer anyway. Just joking. We're here, and talk to us later. Bye-bye.